Greetings, citizens of Nerdtropolis. Sean Todd here, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and I got to host the Superhero Comic-Con panel for the extremely talented actor, Maxwell Jenkins.
Well, we got a special guest today, super excited. Our guest for this panel is a young talent who's taken the entertainment world by storm. You know him from his unforgettable role in Lost in Space, and recently starred alongside Nicolas Cage in Arcadian, a true rising star. Put your hands together and show some love for the talented Maxwell Jenkins. Keep it going, let's go, yeah. Oh, look at that. See, I didn't see this backstage. You just did a little switch on me.
Listen, I go to UCLA, but I love UT.
Looks like we got some Longhorn fans in here, right? I know, I went to UTSA, and so we, it's a hybrid, right? Roadrunners and Longhorns fans. But yeah, have a seat, get comfortable. There's some great seats. You're gonna fall asleep on them. Look, that feels really good.
It's comfy.
We got some great questions from fans that I was just sipping through as you're arriving. Some really good stuff. I did my homework a little bit too about you. I hate doing homework, by the way. I was not the best student in school. Hated homework. I don't know about you. Homework lover?
I enjoy school. I have a good time doing it.
Well, you do go to UCLA.
Yeah, true.
So it is very fun out there.
They make school fun when you get to study outside, year-round.
Well, before we dive really into your film life, I think the most intriguing thing about you is the past life with your family and the circus life that we have a couple of questions and I'd love to hear about before we dive into it is, how is that to be raised in such a unique art form? Like, that is something that's been around forever. And I've been intrigued by the circus my whole life. I love going to see it. So how is that like growing up?
I mean, it's definitely unique. I'm really grateful for it. It was my first window into performing, and really any kind of stage presence. And I'm really grateful for it because it's super unique. You work 10,000 hours for these 4 minutes to go up there and perfect it. And it teaches you to have a great work ethic along the way. A saying that I've always had, that we kind of always have, and I would say throughout the filming of Lost in Space, when we were filming on the side of mountains, and when we were in Ireland filming Arcadian, we were in some tough spots filming, and it would be cold, it'd be early in the morning or super late at night, and they'd say, "Are you okay, Max? Are you okay?" And they baby the actors, and I would say nothing's harder than the circus, because nothing is harder than the circus. So it taught me to have a great work ethic that I apply to every facet, whether it be music, acting, school is a huge part of my life. That balancing all that, juggling all that is, I owe a lot of that to what I learned in the circus. And on top of it, you work alongside of people from all over the world who have come from these wildly different backgrounds than you could ever imagine. I mean, within the circus, within our little big top, I grew up performing alongside people from Montreal, Paris, Africa, Australia, and they all have these wildly different talents and quirks and abilities, and you learn how to come together with people who are completely different than you and create something really beautiful, bringing people together in a tight little circus ring. So that's another skill that the circus has taught me. So I'm super grateful for all of it.
It sounds like that was the little nugget that made you become a performer, the early starts, which obviously kind of tackled your way through becoming an actor, which was apparently by accident, right?
Yeah, it was never in the cards. I mean, I grew up, I still go to public school, but I grew up going to my neighborhood public school my entire life, even throughout the whole acting thing. So it was a total accident. My mom was a voiceover actress. If any of you guys listened to Eggo waffle commercials in the early 2000s, you've heard my mom's voice. So she was an actress, and her agency opened up this on-camera department, and they would always be like, "Can you put him out for a sec?" Because I was a cute little kid sitting in the room, and they said, they kept asking, and she said, no, it's a bad business for kids. I don't want him to do it. And that went on for about 5 years until it was an interview after school. Soccer practice was canceled because it was raining. And I went in, the next thing I knew I was on a plane to LA the next day. So just got super lucky, right place, right time. Fortunate to be surrounded by great people and great parents who have kept the balance between, you know, having a normal life and then getting to also have these great experiences on set. So, yeah, it was a total accident, but super grateful for that accident.
I love how supportive your parents are. Let's hear for that. Great parents.
My dad's right there.
There you go. I found this little nugget that was interesting. Where does parenting and Star Wars cross?
Oh, yeah. Well, my mom had never seen Star Wars until I saw Star Wars for the first time when I was 5, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan, big Star Wars fan.
We're Star Wars fans. Come on, there's a bit.
I know.
Yeah, all generations.
But yeah, so when I was about 4 or 5 years old, we sat down to watch Star Wars, and since then, a big parenting technique is don't go to the dark side, Max. Don't go to the dark side. So I was raised on that.
I love it. That's brilliant. That's the perfect way to parent. Whatever your kid's watching and loving, just implement that in their life and it works.
Exactly, and it stuck with me for sure.
So, growing up, a lot of stuff influenced you, I'm sure. As a young child, what were the type of shows and movies you grew up, other than Star Wars? What else influenced you? And really, the moment you said, you know, maybe the acting accident probably happened, or I'm sure you had something in your head that said you might want to try it in the future if it ever came to it.
Sure. I grew up on Voltron.
Oh, yes!
That is a huge childhood show of mine, and if they ever do a new live-action Voltron, I would be so down for that. I've always identified with the Blue Lion, so I'll go with that one. Other than that, what are some good childhood ones? Star Wars, of course. Star Trek. I'm a big Trekkie. Was raised on that.
Where are Trekkies at?
I'm sure there's a lot.
There we go. I see it right there.
So that was a big one for me. And ooh,
you have me on Voltron, though. I'll tell you, I'm a big
Voltron.
And I would love to see you in a live-action Voltron film. The animated series that they just did recently was amazing.
It was great. I've rewatched it 3 times and I cry every time at the end.
Oh man, I did too. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was great. But in terms of film, I think when I was filming the first season of Lost in Space, our director Neil Marshall, as a wrap gift, gave to me a Blu-ray copy of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And that was probably one of the first films that I watched where I was like, this is really, really cool, and this is what really cool sci-fi can be. And it was pretty exceptional to watch that and then be working on a show like Lost in Space. And I definitely felt the weight of the entire genre. And fell in love with the genre, not only just because I was in it, but because I was a fan of it. So then that progressed, and Blade Runner is another huge inspiration for me. So, but I'd say it kind of started at Close Encounters of the Third Kind, my love of sci-fi.
All great taste. I think we have the same taste in all the films and shows you mentioned. Obviously, sci-fi nerd, I can tell already. Yes, any Lost in Space fans? Have you heard of this show? What an adventurous ride that is. How did that role come to you? And what was the audition process like, if any? Because I'm sure they saw you like, there's Will Robinson.
Yeah, I'm that is probably the one that I just got so lucky with. My mom actually, so my agent sent over the script and my mom had read it before I saw it, and she put it away without telling me because it would take me out of school for too long, 6 months in another country. I had soccer practice, I had Model UN, like I was not gonna go to space. But I found the script on her dresser 2 weeks after the audition was due, and started flipping through it, read it, and I said, oh my God, this is exactly what I've dreamed of. I'm an Iron Giant fanatic. Of course I want a robot. Like,
look at all the gems he's dropping, like Iron Giant. I just love that.
Yeah. So I asked her about it, and she said, well, it's too late, but yeah, it is a show that your uncles watched as kids, and I remember it a little bit. And, I said, well, can I audition for it? She said, I mean, we can try, but it's probably too late. Put myself on tape for it. Luckily, they hadn't found Will Robinson yet, I guess, and they brought me out to LA to test for it, and that's where I met Zach Estrin, our showrunner, Burke and Matt, and yeah, it's where I met all of them, and I think biggest selling point was I talked about my pit bulls, which they kind of used as influence for our robot. So very much a similar dynamic there, and then I got to go to space a few months later, so that was great.
That is awesome. Great show. I love it. We got a couple audience questions. CC, where's CC at? There you go, front row and center. What is it like being and pretending to be in space?
There were some really great moments from Lost in Space that kind of just have prepared me for a whole lot of things that I get to do now. It was one of those shows that you kind of get to try a little bit of everything on. So we did a whole lot of zero-G work. That was a learning process for sure. Excuse me. Sorry, I got something caught in my throat. I need to hydrate. Yeah, so we started doing some zero-G work in the first season, and it's way harder than I thought it was going to be. You have to look like you're in zero gravity while wearing this 40-pound spacesuit on, and it makes you really appreciate what ballerinas do, making it look super effortless. That's what they kept comparing us to. So that was awesome. We filmed in some pretty exceptional locations. We filmed in Iceland, we filmed in Drumheller, Alberta, and we got to travel kind of all over the world to talk about that show. We went to Dubai and Tokyo, New York, DC, and it really exposed me to some places that I don't think I'd ever really get to visit without it. So super grateful for that. And we filmed in some places that felt like space. I feel like I've been to space a little bit because we filmed on these black sand beaches in Iceland, and we filmed out where I actually found a dinosaur bone out in Alberta when we were filming, because they have the largest concentration of dinosaur bones there. So after it rains, people will just find dinosaur bones. So there's been some great experiences that I think have just prepared me for life outside of acting. Getting to go to school and being interested in global studies, and that's my major. So I think that really comes from traveling the world at such a young age and getting to meet really incredible people and learn about their background, their culture, their society, their ways of life. And now I get to study it in school. So getting to grow up in space really, really prepared me for a lot.
I love that connection with work and school and how it kind of led you to do that for studying. Harper here has a question. What was it like to put the spacesuit on for the first time?
It took a while to get it on, but once it was on, pretty overwhelming. I remember when I first got the role, I was on the phone with my uncle, and the first thing I said is, I hope the spacesuit's blue like Spock. And I was 10 years old at the time, and I remember showing up and putting on that spacesuit, and even though I was super young and it was great, it was exciting, I got my own spacesuit, you really felt the weight of those years and decades that people have invested into Lost in Space. So it was a pretty heavy moment, and I didn't know how long the journey was going to be. I didn't know if we were going to have 1 season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons. I didn't know if it was going to be 6 months or 5 years of my life, but you could tell it'd be pretty significant no matter the time frame that I was going to be wearing the spacesuit. So definitely a very memorable experience trying that on with my mom there and our costume team. And I think actually probably an even more impactful moment would be meeting the robot for the first time. That was pretty wild. I did that before I tried on my spacesuit. I got to Vancouver, super homesick, 11-year-old kid, missed my friends, missed my sister, in a city I'd never really been to before, and it was raining every day in Vancouver. But we show up for pre-production, it's about a week into pre-production, and they bring me into this warehouse. I didn't know what we were doing there, and it's dark, and then all of a sudden, the original Lost in Space theme music comes on, and this 7-foot-tall robot with a light-up face walks around the corner, and I was like shocked. I didn't know what we were doing for a robot. I had never seen it before. I didn't know if it was going to be a real robot or if they were just going to green screen it. And he bent down and got eye level with me at the time, although I think I'd be much closer to eye level now. Yeah, I will never forget how special that moment was. And that was the first time I met the person who brought the robot to life, Brian Steele, who's by far one of the most talented actors I've ever worked with. And every scene I did in that show was with him. So that was the beginning of a lifelong friendship.
I love that. That was sweet. Best friends with a robot. For sure. True. What was your favorite part about playing Will Robinson, and how did you relate most to the character?
My favorite part about playing Will Robinson, God, there's a lot. I think we always said Will Robinson's superpower is his empathy. And so I guess I learned a lot from Will Robinson, and I think it was the perfect time to be playing Will Robinson, because I grew up with Will Robinson. I went through my awkward years with Will Robinson. I finished middle school and started high school with Will, and went through the whole pandemic with Will Robinson. So super grateful to kind of have him as this role model. You know, our writers would give him this dialogue and give him these actions and make him kind of the epitome of selflessness. And it was always a great example growing up when I encountered difficulty at high school or being isolated with my sister in the pandemic, and we would fight. What would Will Robinson do? So I think his empathy is a superpower, and I think I've always tried to have that influence the decisions I make. Sometimes it doesn't always work. Will Robinson is pretty idyllic, but he's a great example. And I think in terms of what I relate most to him, his relationship with the robot. I grew up with rescued pit bulls, so you know, people see pit bulls and maybe they'll cross the street. They have a bad reputation because of the actions of their owners. And I grew up with pit bulls knowing them to be the most caring, fiercely loyal companions that one could ask for. So because Lost in Space provided me with this platform, I've been able to work with the ASPCA, with their end dogfighting campaign. So I think that was heavily influenced by Will Robinson, by my upbringing. And those two really did play hand in hand. So grateful for that as well.
Oh, I love that. Pit bulls are so sweet. I have a lot of friends that have them. They're just big teddy bears.
They are, for sure.
I like that. What will Will Robinson do needs to be put on t-shirts?
Sure, yeah.
Motivational right there. From Naya asks, what's your favorite scene in Lost in Space and why?
Ooh.
Hard to pick, I know.
So many.
Maybe from each season.
I think I could pick one. When Will Robinson says the impossible happens all the time, that is my favorite piece of dialogue I have ever been given, been able to say. Zach Estrin wrote it, and I put it on all the cards that I write, all my thank you notes. I sign my emails with it. So that little quote has really stuck with me along this kind of crazy ride. Super grateful to be in the place that I'm at. I never thought I'd be able to go to space. Never imagined I'd get to go to my dream school out in California. And you know, there's just every step along the way, it feels like the impossible is happening. So that is my favorite piece of dialogue, and written by one of my favorite people. So
now let's hear it for that one. So the Robinson family obviously goes through a lot together in the show. How did the cast bond off screen? And this is for, I'll follow up with Don's question here. Who in the cast was most fun to work with, or who was kind of the silliest one?
Okay. First, I'll start with how we got close to each other. It was pretty instant. We kind of knew this would be a pretty intense shoot. We had a lot to film in 5 months. We were all trying something new, and we knew we would have to trust each other. I think luckily, you know, Vancouver's not a big town. We would go on hikes together. We would go mountain biking together. We'd have dinners together. We celebrated Thanksgiving together. We kind of just did everything together. I went to school on set with Mina for the first 2 seasons. So it was a pretty instantaneous connection. I'm still close with them. Still text pretty frequently, if not every day. And in terms of the funniest or most fun person to work with, everybody had their own thing. Toby was hilarious. Toby is one of the most funny, talented people you will ever meet. Ignacio, hilarious. I would say Parker was really influential. I worked with her a lot in the first and third season, and I call her Aunt Parker now. I've never had any kind of formal acting training. I've never taken a class before. I've never done anything like that. I've always been fortunate enough to learn on the job. Grateful that people were able to trust me to do that. But Parker is probably the closest person I've had to formal training. I mean, she was always offering her 2 cents, and she's Parker Posey. She's wildly talented, wildly successful, and she was. I learned so much from her, getting to work with her, and whether it be running lines, she is always hyper prepared. So we would spend our weekends together going through the script, combing through it. She taught me these habits. I get my scripts in size now, super small, and I make them booklets and I keep them in a folder, and there's just the little things that she taught me that I'm going to carry with me for my entire career and beyond.
I love that. Yeah, let's hear it. So this is a great question from Garrett. I wanted to ask this one as well. I'm sure everyone does. Did you take anything from the set? If you did, we won't tell anyone.
I don't know if I'm exactly allowed to say what I took from this.
Or what you didn't. What didn't you take? Rephrase it that way.
Yeah, totally didn't take a baseball that I threw with the robot. Totally didn't take the wristbands, and I totally didn't take a spacesuit. I totally don't have one of those, in case anyone was wondering.
That's a lot of things you don't have.
I know, it's really unfortunate. I wanted to take one of the seats from the Jupiter, but those are about 200 pounds, and you can't exactly ship those through international customs. That'd be hard. But yeah, there's some things. I think me not having a spacesuit is probably the coolest thing.
So if any pictures show up on social media, you take a selfie. Those are from the set. Those are from the house you take.
There is actually one thing that I think I can probably say that I have, and it's really weird. In the first season, they made a life-size dummy of me for when I would not be able to work past a certain hours because I was a kid. They just stick this thing in the background when I'm kind of off camera, so it looked like Will Robinson was back there, and it's lifelike. It's like a silicone, looks like me. They scanned my whole body to make it, and I have that. It was super useful in online school. I just prop it up in front of my camera. I was a good student, though. I listened most of the time, and we used it for Halloween a lot. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff we did. I remember the stunt crew made this whole fight scene, like an interrogation scene where beating up the dummy, and they edited it to look like me, fake blood and everything. So that thing's come in handy, and I do have that. That's probably the weirdest / coolest thing I've taken.
That was pretty cool. Maybe you should put that out for Halloween as a decoration.
No, exactly. We did. We'll just stick it in front of our window when people are walking by, and they'll be really creeped out by this kind of dead-looking 12-year-old boy.
That's so cool. That's hilarious. You've been busy since Lost in Space. It's not like that's the only thing you've done.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you've done, from Sense8.
I did do Sense8, yeah.
How was that working with the Wachowskis?
That was great. That was actually before Lost
yeah.
in Space. I was super young on that one, but that was a cool experience too. I mean, the Wachowskis are incredible. Learned a lot. And in terms of their just kind of twin telepathy that they have going on, Lily would be watching the monitors, and Lana would be kind of interfacing more with the actors, and the technical side as it blended with the artistic side, really just between the two of them was really impressive, and learned a lot from that. They brought me out to Berlin for a week because we ran out of time filming in Chicago, which is where I'm from, and where part of the show takes place. But they were like, "Oh, we have this cool abandoned asylum in Berlin that we want to film at just for a day." and then I ended up getting to go out there for a week. And I'm a huge history buff, so that was great. Got to dive into some World War II history while I was out there, and yeah, Sense8 was a great experience. The Wachowskis are incredible. I don't need to say that, but they are.
No, they are great, so that's definitely a unique experience you can add to your resume to working with them. That was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, getting to do that at a young age I'm super grateful for that.
You brought your Longhorn hat. You're no stranger to Austin, Texas, that's for sure. You were just there for South by Southwest, which is a huge deal to be there. I mean, that's your first time coming to Austin for South by Southwest?
First time in Texas, period.
Wow.
And that was a great introduction. I loved it. I got to see an early screening of Monkey Man while I was out there, and I'm a big Dev Patel fan, and seeing the city come to life, getting to be a part of it. Super grateful. You grew up hearing about South by, and getting to watch a movie there that I happened to be in was pretty inspiring.
An awesome movie, Arcadian, which stars Nicolas Cage, which is really cool. Where are Cage fans at? Come on, Cage is legendary. So how did that project land into your lap? And then, you know, I'm sure the story really was really cool, and having Nicolas Cage being a part of it was an easy no-brainer right there.
Yeah, the project, they sent over the script. It came through and I got to read it. I'm super grateful it did come through. I fell in love with the script immediately. Especially Thomas, the character that I got to play. It was different than any other character that I really played. He wasn't squeaky clean. He wasn't necessarily the hero. He was the root of a lot of problems. And you got to see him try and grow up in a world that wouldn't let him grow up, which is really what spoke to me about that character. You know, I knew Nick was attached when they sent it over, so that was immediately a plus. But then I got to meet with Ben on Zoom, because we were still doing Zooms, and that was great getting to talk to Ben. He instantly became a friend. I don't even think we really talked about the script for the first hour and a half. I think we talked about sci-fi, and we talked about growing up, and instantly hit it off. So then when I got the opportunity to sign on, I found out Jaden would be playing my brother, and that was just like seal the deal. I knew this was going to be a special project, because Jaden's one of those actors who's a few years older than me, and he is the actor who I kind of grew up always hearing about, always admiring, and being like, okay, you know, the closest example to what I would want to follow as a career path. He always did amazing work, kind of a role model, being a few years older than me, and getting to work with him, we instantly kind of became brothers. And it was great to learn off of him, learning off of Nick. Nick is such a selfless actor. He shows up every day wanting to dive into the script work and wanting to ask questions and wanting to hear your thoughts, which he doesn't have to do. He's Nicolas Cage. But I think that's why everybody who works with him loves working with Nick, because he shows up caring 110% about every little scene you're doing that day. It could be an eighth of a page, but he will spend 45 minutes dissecting that eighth of a page and making it as perfect as it can be. The biggest thing about Nick is he cares 110% about everything he does. So, yeah, it was overall a great experience. Learned a lot from Nick and Jaden, and Sadie was amazing to work with. Super grateful for her. I'd never done any really stuff like that, any kind of romance stuff on camera, and it was totally new for me. I was 17 and kind of trying to deal with that back at home. So it definitely learned a lot, and I'm super grateful for her and Ben, and the whole experience was amazing.
Yeah, a lot of great stars. Of course, Nicolas Cage, but obviously this was at South by Southwest that had its premiere. What was the audience reaction like, and how did it just feel like after it was just the credits rolled and being there?
Yeah, we filmed that movie in 21 days. It was a fast shoot. We did it in the winter in the woods in Ireland, Wicklow County, if anyone's ever been there. They call it the Garden of Ireland because it is just so densely green because it rains so much. And so it was a tough shoot, and we did it really fast. We were filming a lot of pages each day, and a lot of hard pages, a lot of action, a lot of imagining stuff that's not there. I'd never really done a whole lot of horror like that before, so that was new as well. So I had no idea how the project was going to turn out. I didn't know what the creatures looked like. I hoped what I did on camera matched with what they looked like. And I hadn't seen the film before I got to South by to watch it. I had seen pieces of it when we were doing ADR and fixing sound, but and Ben would kind of like send me some stills and it's like, you look cool here, man. Thanks. But sitting in South by and watching it and watching people react as stuff was happening, some stuff played funnier than I thought it would be. I never thought I could be funny. I grew up in a family of clowns where the running joke was that I didn't have a funny bone in my body. But yeah, some stuff played funny, some stuff was way scarier than I thought it was gonna be. My sister was sitting right next to me, so she was like my test audience. So I trust her the most, and watching her watch it, and I was really, I don't want to say I was surprised it was good because I knew the people who were in it were going to make it exceptional. But I was really pleased with how it turned out. Super grateful for the crew behind it because it was such a fast shoot. If it was anybody else, I don't know if it would have turned out like that. But the Irish crew, our VFX crew, our post-production crew, they all made that film possible, and I was really pleased with how it was received. South by is really awesome. People from Austin are cool. People from Texas are really cool. Super warm, super welcoming. So getting to sit there with all of them as they enjoyed what we did, was grateful for that.
Yeah, South by Southwest is a really cool place to be. So anyone has an opportunity to go, check it out. It is really awesome, especially if like film, music, and art has everything. It's
everything I'm interested in. So I'm a big music fan. I wish I could have stayed for the music portion of it. Because I actually had some friends from Chicago who were playing there. But I'm a big musician. I play mandolin and guitar, and I love country music, so.
Love that. So obviously, did Cage give you any advice or any kind of nuggets that stuck with you that he mentioned?
I mean, I don't know if it was specific words, but it was through action, for sure.
Right.
I remember the first day, because he came from, I think he was filming Dream Scenario right before that, but he came in about a week into our filming. And, we had established this kind of rhythm, and we were finally, kind of getting into our own thing. And then, we all knew Nicolas Cage was showing up on this day, but it didn't really change. But he showed up, and the first scene we did was this, on paper, kind of nothing-ish scene compared to the rest of the film, where I show up late at the beginning, and he's like, "You're late." Sorry, Dad. And Nick showed up, and our first take, he's like, "Oh, let's just film the rehearsal, man. Let's just film it." And I come running in, out of breath, and he goes, "You're late!" 110%, just like completely startled me, like stopped me in my tracks. And that energy that he brought to each and every scene was consistent throughout the entire 21 days that we filmed that movie for. Every day, no matter how late at night it was, no matter how early, no matter how cold it was, how rainy, energy was consistent, and that really inspired the crew and the cast to keep the energy up. Because as you keep going with the production, energy, morale can get low when it gets long, it gets dark, it gets hard. But yeah, Nick was exceptional in terms of how much passion he brought to every single scene. I think it's something that I've been able to carry on with what I'm doing. I just finished filming a series down in Atlanta, and there were times when I thought, okay, what would Nick do in this moment? And I was like, okay, bring as much energy as you can to it.
That's another t-shirt. What will Nick do is the next t-shirt you're going to make.
What would Nick do?
We'll
just collect them. Yeah.
There you go. I love it. I mean, you work with so many big artists. Cage wasn't the only one. You worked with Gerard Butler in A Family Man, which had an amazing cast. How was that experience? Because that cast is also really amazing.
That was really cool. That was really one of the first films I did. It might have even been the first film I did.
Right, it was really early on, but look, the names that are part of that film are incredible.
I remember getting to go out to dinner. They had this cast dinner, And I was like, I must have been 9 years old. So I didn't really know exactly who everybody was. So we went out to dinner, this kind of cast dinner, and it was Gerard Butler, Alfred Molina, Willem Dafoe. It was like this crazy...
I'm freaking out just hearing that because I'm a big Spider-Man fan right here, and he's like with two of the big stars of Spider-Man.
And Anupam Kher, if anyone loves Bollywood films, I love Bollywood, so Anupam Kher was there, and he actually organized the dinner. I didn't know at the time how crazy that image would have been, like 9-year-old me with a completely shaved head, sitting at a table with these titans, but yeah, it was, that was really great. I learned a lot on that one as well. I'm still in touch with Jerry. I'm still in touch with Anupam. Anupam is kind of like this guardian angel of mine, where if anything gets hard, miraculously I'll get a call from Anupam. It's really, really weird how that worked out. But yeah, I remember I was filming this thing in New York, and it was our last day there. I was moving out, and I'm bringing boxes down, and there's some guy sitting on our stoop. And I'm like trying to open the door, and I'm like, hey man, like, can you please scooch out of the way? And he turns around, and it's Gerard Butler sitting on my stoop, and I'm like, oh, and he like looked at me because I was like about a foot taller from the last time we saw each other. We'd been texting, but not really seeing each other. And he goes, oh my God, Max, what are you doing here?
That's a great impression.
I live here, you're sitting on my stoop. Yeah, so that film, I've been super grateful for everything that I've done. I've been able to make these connections and keep them going. I've worked with great people. I've never had a bad experience. So the people I get to work with, I'm proud that I've been able to stay friends with them. And A Family Man was one of those.
No, that's amazing, and that's really early on in your career, but great cast, like I said. 2 awesome Spider-Man villains in that film.
Oh yeah, right, I mean...
Watching probably No Way Home, you're like looking on screen, it's like, I know those guys that Leonardo DiCaprio, I've worked with them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do have to say, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is mine.
That's yours.
That's my Spider-Man. That's my favorite one.
And then mine's gonna be obviously Tobey Maguire. That's my Spider-Man.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay.
I'm showing my age.
I'm not judging.
I'm showing my age is what I'm doing, saying Tobey is my Spider-Man.
Right, I feel like you just go with everyone was your childhood.
But I really think Tom is the best of all of them combined. He kind of brought a little bit of everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But he still made it his own, so I love it.
For sure. I mean, they all have their unique...
Take on doing it.
Yeah,
it's great. I'll take as much Spider-Man. Just like Batman or Superman, give me everything. I don't care who's playing them. We just need more. Every month, a new film, please. I'll be happy. One of the answers is a new project you're working on, The Bondsman.
Yeah.
With Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
The Baconator.
The Baconator.
What is that? Hush Hush Story. Can you tell us a little bit about that project?
Yeah, I actually don't even know how much I can say, but I mean, I just finished filming it. We filmed down just outside of Atlanta in Sonoya, Georgia. If any of you guys have been there, it was really another unique experience for me. Getting to do some work with some incredible people. I mean, Kevin Bacon, of course. Kevin was awesome. He was an exceptional on-screen dad. Jennifer Nettles. I'm a big country music fan. I'm a big music fan in general. And she got to sing with Jennifer a few times, which was awesome and nerve-wracking at the same time. She is an incredible voice, an incredible person. Beth Grant was also amazing to work alongside. She's actually kind of like my grandmother now. Like, I call her my grandmother. She calls me her grandson. We're still in touch. She lives in LA. We're gonna be workout buddies when I go back to school next year. So that was a great project to be a part of. I don't know how much I can say about the actual project. I got to play music in it. I know I can say that. So that was pretty great. There's some music involved. I got to play mandolin. I got to play guitar. And, what else? I guess, you know, after Lost in Space, I was like, okay, maybe I'm done with doing series for a while that take that much time, because it's a lot of energy and it's a big commitment. And I didn't know if after Lost in Space I'd ever be on a series where the family was that close. But I showed up to The Bondsman, and it kind of felt like home in a weird way. So everyone was super welcoming. The family got super tight. We all lived in this tiny town outside of Atlanta that I think probably like 1,000 people lived in, maybe. So we all were neighbors. We'd get together on weekends, and I was flying back and forth trying to finish my last quarter of school at the same time. But when I was there, it was great, and super grateful for it. I hope we get to go back again. I'm excited for people to see the show. It's super unique. It's its own thing. It's super fun. It's kind of got everything. So Bondsman is a really fun one that I'm looking forward to seeing it. I don't usually like to watch my own stuff the older I get, but I'm going to watch this one just because I'd watch it even if I wasn't in it. So
I think we're all looking forward to it. Having you in there and Kevin Bacon, that sounds amazing. So I'm all in for that. I got a couple more questions before I wrap things up from Harper Grace. Where's Harper at? Right there. Are you still involved with the Midnight Circus, and any chance they would tour in the future?
Yeah, so the Midnight Circus, actually my dad is back there. He's our director and executive producer of the Midnight Circus, founder, and clown, acrobat, ringmaster, does it all, tent master. Yeah, the Midnight Circus is still very much going. There's a tour this September, every weekend in September, and I'm hoping to be able to come back at least for a show or two. It gets complicated with school, and I'm also on the UCLA cheer team, so we have practices, events, games. Yeah, so I'm hoping to be able to come back for at least a show to do my act. The show itself is still touring alive and well. I would definitely recommend if you guys are ever out in Chicago this summer, go check it out. Acrobats from all over the world coming and playing in local Chicago parks, raising funds for the community, bringing the community together all across the city, north, south, west. So, yeah, the point is, Hubbard. The show is alive and well. I'm hoping to come out. Maybe I'll post which one I'll be at, so you guys can come out and check it out. I'll do my act for sure. Maybe do some stuff that I learned on the UCLA cheer team too, lifting up some people, doing some flips, so come out and check it out.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I know it's a Chicago thing, but maybe you can fit a date, come to Texas somehow. Everyone.
Yeah.
We've done. If you could get everyone to come to Texas and do one at least here.
We've done Montreal. Maybe we'll do South by or something.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
One last question from Ava Gray. Where's Ava at? Right there. What's the best advice you can give someone? Let's make it more on that wants to maybe pursue acting.
Wants to pursue acting. Okay. I always feel like I am the worst person to be asked this question because I got so lucky in terms of where I'm at. I've always felt grateful. In a way, I've always had this imposter syndrome kind of thing because I never thought it would be in the cards. It was never part of the plan. But the biggest thing I think I picked up along the way was to lead with kindness first in terms of everything, because filming a series is hard. Filming a movie is hard. It's long. It is long hours. It's long hours for you. It's even longer hours for the crew. So always be kind to the crew. Always make friends with the crew. Always hang out with the crew. I learned the most I've ever learned filming Lost in Space and working with the camera department. I got the opportunity to operate on shots. I got the opportunity to help set up shots. I really became close to the camera department. They gave me my first camera. Photography is a passion of mine. I want to be a filmmaker one day. But I think that the biggest piece of advice I could give anybody is to make those friends and keep those friends. Stay in touch. Not even with the goal of working with them or working for them in the future, but because you will always learn something from somebody on a project. Go into a project with an open mind, and everyone on that show can teach you something. I've had a million different passions getting to work on sets. It's kind of strange because even though I was on the sets as an actor, I'd always show up to the sets wanting to be doing a different piece of that production. First project I did was a project called Betrayal. I wanted to be a sound guy. They let me operate the boom. Lost in Space, I wanted to be a camera operator. I wanted to be a DP. I've wanted to be a director. I wanted to be a screenwriter. I've been able to go to writers' rooms and visit. You can learn something on every show from everybody. So I would say go into every project with an open mind. Don't just go in there expecting to do your job. Be curious. That's the biggest piece of advice I'd give. Be curious. Ask questions. Ask the people around you. Because you'll learn something, and those skills will last you for the rest of your life. Getting to be in the Lost in Space writers' room, watching how that worked, helped me with the screenwriting course that I took in college. I think it's the reason I got an A in that class. So, yeah, being curious and asking questions will serve you for the rest of your life beyond acting, but it will also serve you in acting, because the best thing you can do as an actor, at least from what I've learned, is to remain curious, so that you have real life stories to tell and real experiences to tell. If you're not curious, I mean, you're not a real person, I guess. So, you can't play a real person on screen.
Look at that, so young and so wise. I've learned so much already from this. This is a learning experience for me as well. My question's good for him, but truly a rising star. Let's hear it one more time for Maxwell Jenkins. We're looking forward to more from him. He's excited to be all. You're gonna have a fun time in San Antonio, hopefully this week.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get some good barbecue tonight. I mean, I've been coming to cons since before I was like speaking at them and getting to meet you guys. So I'm excited to walk around, hopefully a little bit, and check out some cool Captain America swag. So he's been my favorite since I was a kid. So.
There you go, a little nugget there. Once again, Maxwell Jenkins.
Thank you guys.
Once again, this is Sean Taj, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and stay tuned for more movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers.